$45 million. Plug in, play on, America.
New information tonight at 11. We're learning more about the victims of those deadly Alabama tornadoes. The storms claimed the lives of 23 people on Sunday.
We know children were involved, but we've also learned the oldest victim, 89 years old, the youngest just 6. Crews are desperate to find more survivors, but it does seem like more of a rescue, or I should say recovery effort now. Fox News' correspondent Ray Bogan is in Lee County, Alabama.
I lost all 5 vehicles and lost my house, and everything is gone.
People in Lee County now seeing the damage left behind. The National Weather Service releasing new storm survey information showing the sheer size of those tornadoes, including one now the deadliest to hit the U.S. since 2013. President Trump offering his support today for the families affected and thanking first responders.
It's been a tragic situation, but a lot of good work is being done. We've been in constant touch with the governor and also the governor of Georgia.
At least 23 people are now dead, including 3 children. Alabama's coroner says those victims have now been identified, some of whom died just feet from their homes.
Just keep those families in your prayers. There's one family there was about married, they're connected, and there are over 7 people this man lost in one family. So it's a tragic situation.
Parts of Georgia, Florida, and South Carolina were also struck by tornadoes. People there are rallying around each other, showing up to help one another pick up the pieces.
We just try to make the best of the situation. Just try to make the best of it. We pray God will answer it, and He by our side, and all we got to do is just stick together.
President Trump will be visiting the hardest hit areas, including Lee County, on Friday. And you can always stay connected with Fox Carolina News even when you're away from your phone by downloading our app. It's free. You can find it on the App Store and on Google Play. And here locally, last Friday was a good time to have the app if you weren't by your TV, because we kind of told you about that aftermath, what happened in Abbeville. A lot of people reached out to us about that tornado.
Yes.
Those are a warning, but a lot of people say, what in the world just happened? And we were able to confirm, yeah, they did have what appeared to be a tornado.
Yeah, it was so scary that night because we had some pretty nasty thunderstorms come through, and it was a tornado that developed just in the blink of an eye. So it's something that we've got to be prepared for. We're going to be going into severe weather preparedness week next week and bringing you lots of tips on that. Something that's pretty much the opposite of severe weather happening tonight, and that is extreme cold. We've got a lot of different stuff in the forecast, that's for sure. Mid-teens to mid-20s across our area expected. A wind chill advisory out for western North Carolina because in the higher elevation spots, it could feel like as cold as -10 out there. Just brutal. It's dangerous. You want to make sure that the kids cover up any exposed skin anywhere in the mountains. In fact, it is just going to be so cold. 27 already in Hendersonville, 22 in Waynesville. We're in the 30s across the upstate northeast Georgia. But it's going to get a lot colder from here. When you factor in the wind, it already feels like 14 around Asheville and 23 in Clemson. Wondering what may be normal for this time of year. Typically, we're near 40 degrees for lows in the upstate. Tonight, 24. And we're going to be well below normal in the mountains as well. But we usually see a freeze, at least for the next month or so on average. So definitely not a good time to do any planting just yet. As we go into the next day, it looks like temperatures will warm into the upper 40s across the area on Wednesday, upper 30s in the mountains. So it's going to be cold all day long, a very January-like day. You can always check in on the morning news from 4:30 to 9 for the latest on your forecast as we head into Wednesday and, of course, inch closer to the weekend. And it looks like the weekend may pack a few thunderstorms, unfortunately. So we'll talk about that on Futurecast coming up. All right, Kendra, we'll see you then. Well, new here at 11, Anderson County deputies need your help. They're trying to find an Easley man's killer 15 years after his death.
Back in 2004, Brian Moore was found dead in a wooded area near Massey Road in Anderson County. The sheriff's office says Moore was shot several times. To this date, no one's been arrested, and the case has went cold. In 2012, the case was reopened, though, but there are still very few leads tonight. After Moore's body was found, investigators found his car and belongings untouched at his home. Right now, the Anderson County Sheriff's Office is doing additional interviews and submitting potential evidence for additional forensic testing. So, however, though, there is currently no new information or leads to follow up on, according to the Sheriff's Office. But they're asking anyone who might have any information on Brian Moore's death to call Crime Stoppers at 1-888-CRIME-SC.
Fox Carolina investigation. We told you last week the Greenville County coroner has already investigated 12 murders this year. We're only in March, and he says that's 3 times higher than at this point last year. Investigators say a lot of this comes back to drugs and how popular social media apps are now being used in crime. Tonight we're going in depth on this, talking with the Greenville County Criminal Investigations Unit about what happens once that yellow crime scene tape comes down.
We're going to head out now to Fox Carolina's Shell Ramin. She is live for us outside the Law Enforcement Center in downtown Greenville. So, Shell, you've covered these homicides. It's got to be heartbreaking for these families and frustrating for investigators.
Yeah, it is, Cody. You know, it's usually one of the worst days of a family's life when they learn about something like this, and it's a question I get all the time. If investigators have an idea of who is behind this crime, then why have there been no arrests? And investigators say it really comes down to having enough evidence, and it starts with the people who first saw it, and some of them have still not come forward here tonight. Now, I spoke to Captain Jones. He's over the Criminal Investigations Unit, and he says from late January to late February, we've seen 10 homicide scenes. 3 of them are still active, and it's only March. He tells me in his years, he's never seen anything like this. Investigators are noticing the victims and the suspects are getting younger and younger. Now, a younger generation of suspects means Jones wants to put more emphasis on investigating the craft they love from now on. Social media, a platform he says can help hinder or help an investigation.
Social media is very hard. We have a case now that's kind of going on. We have witnesses that are saying the exact opposite of each other. You know, so that's very frustrating when you get 2 sets of witnesses saying that 2 different people shot somebody.
And while people may chat about the truth of the murder behind closed doors, these investigators say they need people to come forward and say what they saw in order to give these families justice. You take Micaiah Hawkins, LaMarcus Boswell, all these cases where dozens of people were around, but still we have no answers. Captain Jones says if they act too prematurely, they run the risk of having that entire case just thrown away and that someone will get away with murder. Now, investigators are using technology to their advantage as well. You might have seen the 3D cameras on breaking news scenes that we've covered. It takes a 360-degree image to give them a better idea in court as to what they're looking at. Most recently, they used that for the Willis case, but if you have any information about these ongoing cases, they need your help. Call Crime Stoppers at 188-CRIME-SE. For now, reporting live in Greenville, Shell Ramin, Fox Carolina News Tonight.
Shell, thanks. As we continue to cover our counties, the Spartanburg County Sheriff's Office says this man took off from troopers while firing shots at them. Deputies arrested Andrew Korozewski. Now, it happened last week. They say troopers tried to pull him over along Highway 9. A chase ensued toward North Carolina. Eventually, troopers lost him after he passed over the state line. The next day, Polk County deputies found the car abandoned in a field. The car was then brought back to Spartanburg County, where forensic testing was done, and they were able to identify the 20-year-old suspect. Now, the suspected driver is facing many charges, including pending warrants of attempted murder. Well, the Greenville County coroner identified a man killed in a crash along Locust Hill Road near Stiles Road. They say Matthew Osborne ran off the road this afternoon and hit a fence. Officials say Osborne was wearing a seatbelt but died from his injuries. An autopsy is scheduled for tomorrow to determine his cause of death.
Well, River Police need your help finding this guy. They say that he robbed the Murphy USA on Winhampton Boulevard back on February 21st. They say he distracted the clerk and jumped through a sliding glass window and grabbed cash out of the register. Then he got away on foot. They believe he might have gotten, though, into a brown minivan. So if you recognize the guy and he happens to have a brown minivan, you should call River Police immediately.
Now to some new information at 11. Not only is someone in the upstate hundreds of millions of dollars richer after coming forward to claim their lottery winnings yesterday, but the state of South Carolina will benefit too.
That's right. The South Carolina Revenue and Fiscal Affairs Office says the state will get $61 million from income taxes from the $877 million lump sum that the one winner is going to get. Now, the store owner who sold it, he's getting $50,000. He told us, you see him there, or you will in a minute, that he's going to redo some of his store and get some upgrades there. The Lottery Commission says it's a win, though, for everyone in South Carolina.
For the whole state, it's very exciting, and for Simpsonville particularly.
Now, lawmakers on the Ways and Means Committee had put a contingent proviso in place, meaning they were assuming the winner would not come forward, or they would come forward, I guess. And it's also being told that taxpayers might get $50 tax rebate. Now, it's undetermined right now if the $61 million will be reincorporated into the budget. A meeting will happen next week in Columbia with lawmakers to decide to include the money in this year's budget or hold on to it.
A lot of money. Well, still to come. A top American general is warning the White House that the Russian military is growing and they should be concerned. Hear what he's proposing to counter this growing threat.
Plus, a London man becomes the second person to be cured of HIV. We'll tell you how doctors cured him of the virus and why they say the procedure could be too risky, though, for others.
And we're looking ahead to a very cold morning, but then some milder air closer to the weekend. I'll have the latest on our variety of temperatures in the 7-day forecast.
Closed captioning sponsored by Bojangles. It's Bow time.
Phoenix, Sunday at 3:30 Eastern on Fox and the Fox Sports app.
You're watching Fox Carolina News Tonight.
A top American general is warning the White House that the Russian military is growing and they should be concerned.
So the general's calling on Washington to provide the military with more troops and warships to counter what he calls a growing threat from Russia. He says he isn't comfortable with the U.S. military's ability to deter Russian aggression. The general says his command faces shortfalls with regard to land and naval forces as well as intelligence and surveillance.
I'm not comfortable yet with the deterrent posture that we have in Europe in support of the national defense strategy. In particular, when you look at the both the building capability and the modernization of the Russian forces that we face there. And then finally, of concern is my intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance capacity. Given that increasing and growing threat of Russia, I need more ISR.
The general is specifically asking for 2 additional naval destroyers to join the 4 already stationed in Spain to help counter Russia. The request comes one day after top U.S. and Russian generals met to talk about the situation in Syria and in Europe.
Researchers say a man in London appears to be free of the virus that causes AIDS after he had a stem cell transplant. Doctors say this is the second time this has happened. The same therapy was successful with an American who got the treatment in Germany 12 years ago. Until now, researchers believed he was the only person thought to have been cured of HIV, the virus that causes AIDS. Scientists say stem cell transplants are dangerous and have not been successful in other patients. They say the procedure would not be a practical way to try to cure the millions of people who are already infected with HIV. Well, new at 11, a Central Florida couple is crediting their cat for saving their lives.
Paul and Leona Jones say when they got home from eating dinner last Wednesday, they just wanted to get inside out of the rain. So while doing so, though, they forgot to push the off button on their car. It sat in the garage all night, emitting carbon monoxide, silently poisoning the entire house. Well, at around 1 o'clock a.m., Bella started crying and woke them up. Weak from inhaling so much carbon monoxide, Leona was barely able to call 911. Thankfully, though, firefighters were able to get to them in time.
If she hadn't cried and hadn't woke him up, we would not have known, and we would have just went through it.
And never woken up.
Never woken up.
Pretty crazy. The couple has since put a great big reminder on the garage to turn off the car and installed carbon monoxide detectors. As for Bella, she's getting plenty of extra treats. But that's the problem with that touch thing, too, with the touch starting, I mean...
Yes. Just thinking that. When you used to have to pull a key out, that would ensure that you're turning off your car. Yeah, I mean, it's good to, you know, really like what they're talking about, having the signs. I mean, put carbon monoxide detectors in the house, too. Because, you know, because it's, with a fire, there's smoke and all of that. So, I mean, you might notice that more. And, of course, you got smoke detectors. But this, like they're saying, you don't smell anything. You wouldn't even know. Exactly. The cat knew something was up. The cat knew. That's amazing. I know. I feel like we were in a lot of stories with dogs like that.
I was about to say, look, there's a cat stories.
I love them both, but I just like the cat to get some good PR too. So immediately the cat's picture popped up, and Kendra went, "Oh, look at the kitty!" Yeah, well, with brave cat, I tell you, very impressive. All right, let's take a look. Oh,
there's Bella.
Go Bella, our hero of the night. Real lies. Oh my goodness. All right, let's take a look at your commute cast. As we're gonna have temperatures very cold in the morning. They'll probably be warming up your car car, but of course you don't want to do that in the garage at all. You need to have that outside. And temperatures will be in the 20s and teens as you get the day started. Second half of the day, it will be a little bit warmer, but it is still going to be cold by early March standards, talking about 40s, even some 30s in western North Carolina for highs. So just get ready for it. It's going to be a January-like day, but at least for the commute, shouldn't have anything to get in your way like rain or any winter weather. Currently, it's feeling like winter across the upstate in the 30s, 34 for Spartanburg, 34 in Anderson. We're at 27 up in Asheville. And tomorrow morning, we're talking 20s across the upstate, low 20s, so a hard freeze in Gaffney, 22 around Cowpens, 24 in Greer. So, yeah, protecting that strawberry crop. Talked about that during the 4 o'clock show today. It's scary for all the things that are blooming right now because of how mild it's been. This is going to be a killing freeze if they're not protected. 24 in Abbeville, 23 for you in Seneca, 24 in Hartwell, and looking at teens across western North Carolina. It is going to be brutally cold. At least we do warm up into the 40s by the end of the day, but again, still well below normal for this time of year. Normally we're in the low 60s, upper 30s for western North Carolina with mostly sunny skies. So at least the sun will help the morale a little bit, but it's going to be deceiving because you'll look outside, think it feels really nice. Not so much. It's going to be very chilly. We'll stay clear as we go into 8 o'clock Wednesday evening. Thursday looks totally clear, so I decided just to fast forward to Friday. That's when moisture returns. Could get some mixed precipitation in the mountains, a mix of rain and snow as it looks right now. And then that would all turn to rain through the day, and rain would push into the upstate and northeast Georgia during Friday. But it'd be rather light, shouldn't stick around for all that long. In fact, it's going to actually build north as we head throughout the weekend. So notice at 11 a.m. on Saturday, looking mostly clear across the area, just a few clouds. So I think the first half of the weekend, it's going to be the drier half. Some light showers will start to approach, but the heavier rain will still be off to the west. This could be some major severe weather off to our west around northern Mississippi, portions of Arkansas into Tennessee on Saturday night. Now, these storms will make a run at our area as we go towards Sunday morning. They will likely weaken as they get here toward mid to late morning, but something we'll really need to keep weather aware. It's going to be around that time folks are going to church, around the time maybe you're getting out to go for breakfast on a Sunday morning. We could have some strong thunderstorms, and we'll keep you posted. Now, luckily, they're going to be moving out for Sunday afternoon and evening, so hopefully the second half of the day will be salvaged. Right now, going with a 60% chance of showers and thunderstorms. Highs will be in the 60s. This will give those storms a little more energy than they were able to get this past Sunday in our area. It stayed so cool that we really didn't see the storms get too strong. It's going to be a little warmer, though, for us this time around, so we'll be watching for storms intensifying. And don't forget that daylight saving time, it starts up this weekend. You want to set those clocks forward an hour, and it looks like you'll be losing that hour of sleep, but gaining the sunshine in the evenings, which is always nice. Heading into next week, it gets a little more normal temperature-wise, as we'll be back in the 60s and upper 50s in the upstate. Not bad the next couple of days, just kind of chilly, but at least we're getting the sunshine, and then that chance for rain comes as we head toward the second half of the weekend. You can always head to foxcarolina.com for the latest weather anytime.
All right, Kendra, let me just put out there that I will always trade sunshine for an extra hour of sleep, but I digress. Plenty to get to coming up in sports. We'll check in with Tigers head coach Brad Brownell. Clemson trying to win their final 2 regular season games with hopes of getting to the NCAA tournament. It starts tomorrow night against Notre Dame. Plus some action on the floor tonight. The Gamecocks taking on Texas A&M, UNC Asheville, Presbyterian, USC Upstate, all on the hardwood for the Big South tournament. Plus, we'll hit the diamond. Tigers and Gamecocks get back at it with their midweek matchups. The Citadel at USC, Furman and Clemson duking it out at Floor Field in Greenville. Those highlights and more yours. Straight in sports.
Nissan, Kia of Greer, Toyota of Greer, and Hyundai of Greer.
Eastside High football is looking for a new head coach. Dan Morgan resigns to head to Spring Valley High to work on the offensive side of the ball under Robin Bacon in the Midlands. The Eagles went 7-4 last season. Hey there, I'm Aaron Schuslock to the Diamond now, where the Tigers get a bounce-back opportunity after losing their after losing the rivalry series to the Gamecocks for the first time in 5 years. But they face another tough in-state test tonight against the Paladins. Brett Harker and Furman trying to knock off Monty Lee and the Tigers. A cold night in Greenville. Everyone is bundled up Furman strikes first in the bottom of the first. Man on for Sterling Turman. The former Eastside Eagle rips it to right for an RBI single. Paladins jump ahead 1-0. Clemson trying to come back with a man on. Top of the second, John Michael Bertrand pitching well. Gets Adam Hackenberg, well, hacking. Paladins get out of the frame unscathed. It's 1-0 in the second. Paladins looking for more. Brett Hebner. Base hit to right. We got a play at the plate. Check out the throw by Michael Green. Nails him. Still 1-0 Furman. Tigers finally break through in the third. A pair on for Briar Hawkins. He doesn't miss. Sends it right back up the middle of the center. Tigers tying it up at 1. Then Clemson goes ahead on a sac fly from Hackenberg. Turns into a double play, but good enough for the lead. Clemson scores another to finish off Furman. 3-1, the final. To Columbia, where the Citadel Bulldogs facing a red-hot Gamecocks team. SC winners of 9 of their last 11, including that rivalry series win over Clemson. Carolina up 1-0 in the bottom of the second. The runs keep on coming. George Khalil, his first homer of the season, a 2-run variety. Carolina jumps ahead 3-0. Still in the second, Luke Berryhill wants to get on the fun. Hits it to right center. 2 more score for Cocky. Gamecocks up 5-2 Zilch. Later in the second. This time it's Jacob Olson. A line drive to left, that'll fall. Another run comes in, an 8-run second inning, a career-high 12 strikeouts from TJ Shook, powering the Gamecocks to a 9-0 shutout win over the Citadel. SC hosts Gardner Webb tomorrow. All right, to the hardwood now, and another week, another tough loss for the Tigers. Clemson's lost to North Carolina over the weekend, leaving Clemson with their backs against the wall a little bit. 2 games left now before the conference tournament. Clemson leading the Tar Heels for a good chunk on Saturday, but they simply couldn't close them out. A Shelton Mitchell drive at the end of the game does not draw the foul despite a ton of contact. The 2-point loss, you can group that with the last second loss at NC State. 1-point losses to Louisville and Miami. Now a chance to get some of that momentum back and finish the regular season strong, starting at Notre Dame tomorrow night. A huge game at home against Syracuse also looms this weekend.
You know, all the games most of the games have been different in terms of the close losses. There's no common theme. Those are different ways in the conference of losing, and it's probably, in terms of you asking me the question, do I self-scout and do I understand them? I've got them in memory.
The Tigers on the bubble for the NCAA tournament. The Gamecocks trying to get back to the bubble conversation. Long way to go from that. They're in College Station, take on Texas A&M. The story of the first half, SC's 3-point shooting. 8 of 10 from beyond the arc. Chris Silva nailing a triple helps Carolina bring a 39-34 lead at halftime. Silva was not done there. Another 3 from the corner here gives the Gamecocks a 47-36 lead in the second. Silva leading all scorers with 22 points. Asani Gravett also stellar from long range. 4 of 7 from deep. He scores 17 points. South Carolina gets a big win, beating Texas A&M on the road, 71-54.
After our disappointing performance a couple days ago at Missouri, I'm really proud of coming out and playing better today, playing with more desire and passion. We played with our feelings hurt last game out.
Big South tournament gets going earlier tonight. The Spartan season comes to a disappointing end, a 71-52 loss at Charleston Southern. The Blue Hose blow out the Bulldogs, meanwhile, to end UNC Asheville's year. Presbyterian moves on, 106-59. But there might not be a bigger surprise in the entire state than Clemson women's basketball team, who tips off in the ACC tournament on Thursday. The Tigers 9-7 in conference this year. In fact, they've won more ACC games this season than the past 4 years combined.
It's the most exciting time of year when you get to participate in the best tournament anywhere in women's basketball across the country. I think that's something you just got to get jacked up about.
Clemson faces either Virginia Tech or Wake Forest, who play tomorrow. Clemson will take the winner on Thursday at 6 p.m. We'll have a full recap of that matchup here on Fox. We're back after this.
1298. Shop online at KiaCareer.net.
We're back with a nightcap and pictures of an Atlanta professor carrying a student's baby during a lecture are going viral.
All right, Wayne Hare, a student at Morehouse College, couldn't find a last-minute babysitter, so he brought his 5-month-old to class, his professor offering to carry the baby for the entire lecture so he could focus on taking notes. Can I get that professor to my house? gotten thousands of shares on Facebook. Very cool move right there.
It's really cool. And we've seen it happen in a few other colleges across the country, but pretty cool professor to do
They
that.
want you to be in class, then bring the baby. Why not?
I need his
love it.
contact info. I'm looking.
Have a good night. Happy birthday to Cody tomorrow.
The winter chill.